That looks like the spot over there.
How about it? We're going to bring something up?
I got a hunch this is going to be a big one. The way I figure, 47 more welds and another pipeline's all wrapped up.
We'll have to add some compressor horsepower here to take care of the added industrial load at this point up north.
Centerville, how's your pressure? Raise your line T discharge to 700 pounds. Okay.
Dispatching wants line T discharge raised to 700.
Unit 14 to dispatcher, over.
Dispatcher to Unit 14, come in.
This is Charlie. We just checked the air conditioning installation at 2619 Webster.
Yes, the Charlies are the ones you most often meet. But all of them, the ones you've just seen, and thousands more, they are the men and women who serve me so that I can better serve you. The way you see me now, a small blue flame, is probably my most familiar form to you. But actually, there are some who recognize me as one of the world's most abundant and useful natural resources. Of course, I am natural gas, and these are my people. Each of them working to help bring you the best possible gas service. Now, of course, if you want to reach way back into history, say about 150 years, that wasn't so. And since I brought it up, I might as well admit that the people who worked with me back in, say, 1815, didn't know much about the uses of natural gas, because there weren't any. In fact, they didn't even know how useful I could be. The truth is, they weren't even sure of what I was, or where I came from. But in all fairness to them, I should tell you that they weren't really looking for me at all. They were in the salt business, digging a brine well, which was a common thing to do along the banks of the Kanawha River in 1815. With their crude spring pole rig, they were going down a steady 3 feet per day, when, on this day, they suddenly heard from me. When I put on a show like this, is it any wonder that the earliest Americans called me a wild spirit? And why should these early settlers of the Appalachian Mountains think much better of me? But fortunately for me, these were a special breed of men, tough and imaginative. And during the next decade, my unexpected appearances from brine wells throughout Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia became so frequent that these pioneers among my people conquered their fears and invented ways to cope with my rambunctious spirit. Soon they had discovered enough about my talents to deliberately drill wells in search of me. Crudely but effectively, they had learned to control me after a fashion. Transport me through hollow logs over short distances and use me as a form of illumination. And then, one day in 1840, another of my people put me to work for the first time in American industry. An ingenious salt maker, bless his heart, in Centerville, Pennsylvania, got the idea that, unlike the logs he'd been using for the fire under his vats, I didn't have to be cut, split, stacked, or carried. And what's more, I was there 24 hours a day to boil down the brine in his salt kettles. Now that the barrier had been broken, my people kept finding newer and better uses for me. In their industries, on the streets of their towns and cities, and in their parlors, at first for light, and then in the kitchen for cooking, as well as smudge-free heat in their homes. And if you'll pardon the small boast, by the year 1900, I had become a household word, so versatile and popular that an entire era is still named after me. As more people wanted me, they now searched for and found me in great quantities throughout Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, here in America's original natural gas land. And here the complicated techniques and skills required to bring me from thousands of feet below the earth were developed and perfected. In early days, a surface study of the terrain, and all too frequently a mere good hunch, were all that told a driller where to sink his well. But I have a reputation for elusiveness, and then, as now, hunches were usually not good enough. Thus, around the turn of the century, the young men of science joined in the search for me and added a new phrase to the gas industry vocabulary: subsurface geology, or in plainer words, the study of the earth and its formations below the surface.
And this, gentlemen, is an enlarged illustration of that sample brought up from several hundred feet. 300 million years ago, it was sediment in a prehistoric swamp. Now it is porous stone, with tiny spaces between its particles capable of containing natural gas. As you know, gentlemen, many millions of years ago, chemical and bacterial action converted organic materials deep within the earth into oil and gas. Then, through more millions of years of geological history, the gas migrated through the porous sandstone layers like water through a sponge and collected in underground pockets. These sometimes occurred in the highest points or anticlines of folded rocks. Here, under an impervious layer of rock, the gas was imprisoned, to be released only through the wells drilled by modern man. I realize, of course, that this is all very basic and hardly new to you gentlemen, but I remind you of it to emphasize the significance of the subsurface picture we've constructed out of samples taken from our test wells and these pieces of rock found on the surface some distance away. You'll recall that we successfully drilled some good wells out in the Washington district a few years ago. Well, here are some samples of sandstone we encountered early in the drilling. We also got a good record of the rock layers in that area. They look like this. You see this anticline? Notice particularly this sandstone above the producing formation. Recently, one of our survey crews made an interesting discovery. It found this same sandstone at the surface in two places about 15 miles from our new gas field. Now, these rocks were in layers tilted like this. It looks to us as if the top has been worn off an upward fold of sandstone.
And what could this have to do with another gas field?
We think that the gas-producing sandstone under the formation must be folded the same way.
And there's a chance of another anticline.
That's it exactly.
Seems like an awful lot to assume, just from some rocks.
Gentlemen, as you know, the demands for natural gas are continually going up and up. And we can't afford to go on drilling mostly on hunches and hoping for a lucky break. I appreciate your giving me the opportunity to test the theories of subsurface geology. And now I'm going to ask you to have even more faith in these findings. Based on what we know for sure, and signs of what to expect, I'm recommending that we drill our next test well right here.
And now comes the time when those who would serve me must dare to venture. For this is the moment of the big decision. Financially, the risks are substantial. It's never easy for a lone wildcat driller or a company like this. The decision has been made. The company will proceed with a new test well as recommended by the geologist. And now it's only a question of turning a lot of probabilities into realities. Because you don't ever really know about finding me until you drill down and get me, or get a dry hole. there was no longer any doubt. The new science of gas geology and the men who served it became full partners on my team. And during the years that followed, they continually developed newer and more accurate techniques of searching me out. They mapped the subsurface with sound waves and seismographs, searched for variations in its magnetic field, and tested for changes in the pull of gravity to more accurately locate my fields. Likely looking spots in America's original natural gas land were explored and developed. Millions upon millions of dollars and all the skill and science my people could bring forth went into the battle to keep up with demand. But still there was not enough for all those who wanted and needed my services, even in the gas land where I was first discovered. But in Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, and throughout the Southwest, great new gas deposits were being discovered and tapped. But the Southwest is a long way from America's original natural gas land. And there's only one way to transport me, through pipelines. Soon, pipelines spanned the country to provide billions of cubic feet of gas for the homes and industries of the nation, forming a vast network of nearly 250,000 miles of pipe. For these, too, were more of the men who served me. Rugged, skilled, determined. These were the modern counterpart of our early frontiersmen. Truly, these men did not know the meaning of the word impossible. Nothing could stop them. Not mountains, rivers, or swamps. In terms of men, machines, materials, and capital investment, the building of these nation-spanning pipelines would be equaled by few other private engineering enterprises. So rapidly did my popularity as an ideal fuel for industry and home heating continue to grow that as fast as one pipeline neared completion, another was already underway. But with this tremendous expansion of my use came another interlocking problem. Solving this one would need to be a group effort. And taking on the challenge were still more of the people in my ever-growing family. Men from the engineering, procurement, and transmission departments.
Now, gentlemen, I'd like to review the crux of our problem with a simple parallel. Think for a moment of these pipelines as superhighways. And then visualize a situation where such a highway is jammed to overflowing during the rush hours and only partly used at times. It's a reasonable enough parallel when you look at the great seasonal variation in gas consumption which our industry faces every year.